Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone. This is a bi weekly live stream all about amateur radio and portable ops. My name is Charlie, and my call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor, and I am from the Red Summit RF YouTube channel. With me this evening are our show's two co hosts. We got Dan, KC7MSU, and we have Brian, W7JET.
Hola.
And I'm also pleased to introduce you to tonight's guests. We have Gary, W0 Mike November Alpha.
Hey.
And we have Martha, Whiskey Zero Echo Romeo India.
Hello. Howdy, thanks for having us.
You bet. And these guys are our top SOTA chasers here in the United States, but they're also in pursuit of their mountain goat, so we'll get a chance to talk to them a little bit about that. Also, we have the regular characters there in the chat room. I see all you guys about ready to hop in here and say a few comments and ask questions. We appreciate you being here as well, and if you have an opportunity, want to say something to Gary and Martha, pop that in the chat room. And let us know, and we'll relay that information. And more importantly, if you have a question for them, put that in there as well. So this evening, let's just go around the room real quick here and find out what everybody's been doing over the last 2 weeks and get caught up. So take it away, Dan.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see here. I've been on call this week, so it's been kind of a slow week. But getting ready to prep to put out an email for our local club here in Arizona. We're going to try and entice some new folks into SOTA by taking them out to Lone Mountain here this coming up weekend. So we'll see how that goes. As well, finally went out and found an antenna to use at home again. I've been kind of antennaless for a while. And so I found a hex beam that Brian saw on a local Facebook page, so I jumped on that. So now hopefully I'll be able to do a little chasing here for a change.
Pretty cool. All right, me, I usually, after the live stream from the last week, I usually kind of just take a break and just do a little stuff here and there as far as ham radio goes, just work from home. And then usually the Friday before, and this was no exception, I get out there and do some summits on the air. I did a joint activation this Friday. Actually, we did it on Saturday this time. It was with Gaston, what is it? I'm going to mess this up. Kilo Tango 1 Romeo in Uniform November, I think is his call sign. I know him, Gaston. He's the Tech Prepper, and his YouTube channel is The Tech Prepper. He's a great guy. Check him out. And so we just did an activation of a blackjack point, and it was a pretty fun activation. We spent a couple hours up there just playing around, and I did some antenna tests, and Brian helped me out with that, and so did Dan, and we decided that roll-up Slim Jim works way better than the Yagi, right, Brian?
Yeah, it was surprising actually. I was really surprised to see that it outperforms.
Oh. Why don't you go ahead?
So let's see what I do. Well, so still working on getting this working right. It's getting a lot better. I should hopefully be back to work end of the month.
For those of you who don't know, he broke his arm a
yeah,
while ago.
For those who didn't know, yeah, it's it's the part of the saga right now. At some point, I'll stop talking about it, but it's there. So we got that. I went out and did a joint activation. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago, so it was after the last live stream. So Charlie and I did that joint activation up on Bill Williams and Summit Mountain, which was a good time.
Forgot about that. And how could I forget about that?
Yeah, how could you forget? You were up there freezing your butt off, or at least pretending to be.
Exactly.
So yeah, we got that in, and I've been doing stuff around the house here, doing a little bit of shack cleaning. For those that are used to staring at the wall behind me, you can see that things kind of moved a little bit back there. I got a set of shelves, and I'm trying to get the workbench of incomplete dreams organized a little bit better, so I can get some of those projects finished that can't seem to find their way to finish. Getting prepped up for my presentation this week for the ARRL on Thursday. I'm doing a presentation for the Learning Network on Summits on the Air and VHF UHF contesting, and it's mostly going to be talking about how to do it, and really using the example of what we do every January for the January ARRL VHF UHF contest. here in Arizona, which is coming up. So getting gear prepped for that, and it's actually a pretty good excuse. I have to put the gear out. I'm going to go through it. I kind of have everything ready to go so I can do the show and tell during the Learning Network event. So if you're an AWRL member, check it out. Sign up for it on the AWRL Learning Network page. And if you're not an AWRL member, you should be. Over to you, Charlie.
All right, cool. All right, let's get a update here from Gary and Martha. What have you guys been doing for the last 2 weeks?
Well, we spent 9 days in Montana over Christmas and almost had a withdrawal problem from SOTA. Tried to work up there, but I found out that it doesn't work very well when you have a house that's got a metal roof. For some reason, it just kills all of that RF. So I made one contact in that 9 days.
Oh boy!
And I was kind of disappointed in that, but it was cold with no snow, so it wasn't so bad. And finally got back home Wednesday and been on the air again now for the last 4 days, and it's good to be back.
Getting caught up. That Big Sky Country, though, it's good to get away from everything up there in Big Sky Country, right? It's beautiful.
It's beautiful country up there. We really enjoy that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's just jump right into this. I'll probably interrupt you from time to time as people make comments or have questions. They'll pop them in the chat room. But I know you have some slides you wanted to show. Start out with that, and then we'll do that for the first half of the show, and then we'll open it up for other questions that us as the guests or the guys in the chat might have for you. How's that go?
That should work.
Right.
Let me see if I can get this started here. Go down here. Oops. Okay, are you seeing that?
Not yet, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Off here. Shared. I thought I did.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Now it's starting.
All right. Well, here's the shack. It's not the most current picture of the shack. Some changes have been made here in the last year or so. These are a pair of Kenwood TS940 transceivers, 1985 vintage. And I finally replaced this one over here with an ICOM 7300 here recently. And it's been working very, very well. The amplifier it's not even in circuit. I bought that in the state. Thought it'd be nice to have the whole system, the whole Kenwood system, but I don't use it. So it doesn't even have an antenna or anything hooked to it. All I run at most is 100 watts. And if you can't do it with 100 watts, you probably can't do it at all anyway. That's what I've found out over the years.
That's
So
good.
that's what the station looks like.
That looks like mission control.
I was going to say that the 100 watts part really impresses me because you guys were actually, when I did that activation in Hawaii, you guys were very loud and very readable on 100 watts. And I think you were one of only 7 people that I managed to work that day.
Okay. Well, it's probably because of this right here.
Yeah.
That's our antenna farm. What this is, that's a 50-foot Roan 25G tower, and it's got a Mosley TA33 antenna on it, but I've added the 17 and 12 meter element to give it 5 bands. So that's what I use for most of the HF stuff except 40 and 30 meters. Over here is a pair of cross-polarized antennas for satellite operation. Up on the top up there is a pair of 440 beams for ATV and local repeaters, and a 2 meter beam for local repeaters. And this is just a 5-band Hustler antenna, 5 BTV. So that's the antenna farm right there. And that's what we work you all with. And this antenna, by the way, is over 50 years old.
I'm laughing at Mark, KG6LI. He says, the hardest thing about talking to Gary and Martha is trying to remember the RST I gave Gary so that they can match.
That's true. I tend to look up at Gary's and say, "Oh, yeah, that's what I gave Gary too."
Whatever. I'll accept it one by one.
Also, several people, K6ARK, Adam, and Jeff Cable, they all say, there's multiple people that are saying, wow, 100 watts, didn't know it. You guys are always so loud.
Well, we're just lucky. That's all I can say, because we're actually down in a valley a little bit right here where we are. So, but we don't have hills that are real close to us. So we must be shooting over those pretty well.
Cool.
Okay, here's how I got started in SOTA. This is in September 2012. We have a group of hams that gets together for breakfast every Thursday, and one of them one morning asked if anybody had heard about this thing called SOTA, and nobody had, so he started explaining what he had been reading, and he somehow or another had come up with this particular summit to maybe go do sometime, and it turns out it's down in Arkansas. It's only a 1-point summit. It's called Sugarloaf Mountain, and it's in the middle of a lake. So you have to have a boat to get there. Fortunately, this guy had a boat. He's an avid fisherman. So we took off and went down there and pulled up there that morning about 7 o'clock, and it kind of looked like that island in the movie, Mysterious Island. So we got in the boat and we went around the island like this, and there was a place over here to land. Had a very nice hiking trail up to the top. It was 501 feet. And the only thing live on that summit were birds and black biting flies.
Whoa.
So we set up, didn't know what we were doing, made some contacts, called it a day, and came back off of there. But that got me intrigued and started in SOTA, and that's the way it started.
And the rest is
It was
history.
kind of a fun summit. That summit has only been activated 3 times.
Really?
And the biggest problem is you've got to have a boat to get there.
How far is it offshore?
It's half a mile.
Okay, so it's doable in a canoe then.
There is a guy down there that will take you there in his boat, but he only wants to give you a total of 2 hours to get there, do your thing, and come back.
Wow, that's all
And
he has
that's
patience.
kind of pushing it. So you're better off trying to rent a boat or something, I guess.
Yeah. Lynn and Lee, I don't know if you know Lynn and Lee here from Arizona. They say that
Yes.
you're both their top 3. That you're the top chasers for them. They're another great couple we may have to have on here pretty soon.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a summit that's no longer available. It's down in Arkansas. It's called Kennedy Mountain. It's an hour south of Branson, Missouri. Too many kids got up there and started making a mess of the place, and the owners decided they were going to shut it down. But this was one of our group activations here, and this was probably 5 years ago. Some of these people you've heard on the air, I'm sure, that have worked you, like this guy right here, John N0EVH, Frank E0JQZ out in Colorado. This is Tim WA8 REI. He's now Silent Key. Anybody recognize this guy?
No. Who's
Looks
that?
like the Goat Man.
That Steve?
Yes, it is the goat guy, Steve, WG0AT. And this is our granddaughter. Funny story. Well, it's not funny, but it's an interesting story. But this guy right here, he had a stroke a few years ago, and he had never done a summit. So as our group was down there for this event called OzarkCon, which I'll talk about in a little bit, we decided to have him go with us on a summit, and it took 4 of us to help him get across a fence so he could get to the summit. And he was just livid. I mean, he loved it. He just had never done the summit or anything like that, and he was really fired up about it. And it was fun just to do that and actually get the guy there and show him how Summit on the Air operated. But like I said, we've lost this summit now, and it's really a sad thing because it was a great summit. And there's Steve. He's up on top of the rocks working. I think it was a guy in West Virginia at the time I took this picture here. But him and Frank came from Colorado to attend the OzarkCon event, and it's a neat event. This is one of our favorites now. It's called Coot Mountain, and it's in the forest area down in Missouri, southeast Missouri, actually. And no, it's not Arkansas. Yeah, it's Missouri. I don't know why I wrote Arkansas there. Anyway, it's Missouri. And what's neat about this is there's the ranger's cabin. So that ranger lives pretty good down there in the woods.
Yeah.
Do you go there and get coffee before you set up?
Well, no, he's not even there. That's the thing. I mean, they've got a really nice building for him and everything, and he's never there hardly.
Huh.
But
Have
this
you-
became one of our favorites.
Have you gotten your granddaughter on the air on an activation or anything yet?
Well, not exactly, but she's been with us on several activations. She carries the antennas, and she likes to hike and be outdoors, so she's a lot of fun to have with us.
Well, that's
She lives in
90% of
Mo-
it.
she
It's
lives
getting out
in-
there.
Yeah, she lives in Montana now. Here's another favorite. Some of you have probably heard of this one, Magazine Mountain. It's down in Arkansas. This is the highest point in Arkansas. And it's a nice hike. It's only about 3/4 of a mile from the trailhead. An easy hike. So if you get down to Arkansas, make sure you do this. And there's a beautiful lodge down there you can stay in also on the mountain. Here's our setup when we do activations. Most
Can
of the time it's-
I interrupt you right here?
Yes.
Just so that the irony isn't lost on anybody, you are the top chasers, obviously, but you're activating here now. You live where again? Tell the audience.
We live in northeast Kansas,
And
a
how
place
many-
called Leavenworth.
Yeah, and how many SOTA summits are in Kansas?
0.
Okay.
We have to travel somewhere outside of Kansas to get to any summit. And our closest one is about a 4.5-hour drive.
All right.
That's dedication.
Yeah. But here's our setup, KX3. This little box here allows us to tie 2 of these traveler headsets together, Heil traveler headsets together, so that we can both key the radio at any time and do our activations. For CW, we've got a little device here called a K-board, and it works in conjunction with this miniature keyboard here. So when we send CW, we've got all of our F keys programmed for certain responses, like our call signs and 559, 599. So all you have to do is just hit the keyboard to do your CW, and it sends a whole lot better CW than I do.
Which one of those F keys is my call sign?
I haven't put that on there yet.
Oh, okay.
I have to use all those little bitty ones down below it.
Oh, okay.
But it still works well. Here's another one of our favorites. This is called Whitney Mountain in Arkansas, and that's the view. It's a beautiful place, and there's a beautiful lodge up there too. These are drive-up summits. Most of these I'm talking about. So if you ever get into this area, you really need to do some of these. They're just really fine summits. Go ahead.
That's Beaver Lake.
That's Beaver Lake. Here's another one that's real easy. It's Rich Mountain. I just worked a guy on Rich Mountain today, and that's down in Arkansas. It's just a couple of miles from Queen Wilhelmina State Park on the west side of Arkansas. And at Queen Wilhelmina State Park, there's a beautiful lodge to stay in, and there's a ham fest there in September in the campground. So it's supposedly one of the oldest ham fests in the United States. And if you ever get down there, try to get to that ham fest and then do a bunch of summits, because there's a lot of them right here in this area that are easy to do. Most of them are drive-ups. There's like 4 or 5 of them within about an hour to an hour and a half from this location here. And there's where you can set up on Rich Mountain. There's a nice little shelter there.
Boy,
That's just a friend of ours from Kansas City.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
I always
And here's,
love the picnic tables on the summits. Whenever you run into those, it's a blessing.
Here's another one that's very well activated. It's called Pilot Knob. It's near Branson, Missouri, south and east about an hour from, or south and west about an hour from Branson. And this road here is well overgrown now, but there used to be a road that the ranger would take up to the tower that used to be on top of this hill. But this is Pilot Knob, Missouri, and it's a nice summit. It's probably about maybe a mile hike from the trailhead. It's easy to get to. This one is a bear. This is Shepherd Mountain, and that's Martha down there on the trail. This is at the trailhead. There's two signs. This is in southeast Missouri, and the first sign says steep. The second sign for another trail says less steep. All they're really telling you is this one is a straight up shot on the steep one, and the less steep is a bunch of switchbacks, which is not any less steep, I guarantee you. But, and you can see how rough the trail is too. But it's a good summit, but it's a hard summit. So you really need to be careful on this one because you can fall and hurt yourself if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And there's where we set up at the top of that one there. And again, you can see our KX3 setup. Nice place.
Kyle AA0Z says he's done that summit. He says it's just straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, these hardcore guys do that. This is another drive up. This is the trailhead right here. It's called Tomsock, Missouri. And this is the highest point in Missouri. And there's a nice concrete trail all the way back to this sign right here. If you stand on that rock, you're standing on the highest point in Missouri.
Wow.
So that's an easy setup, and plenty of trees and nice park benches over there to sit on and everything. So that's a good summit to work. This one here is a little pile of knob, another drive up, and this is out in the middle of the woods, literally. I mean, you're way out there, but it is a nice drive up. And when you get there, there's a bunch of towers, radio towers, but you can't sit up next to those. They generate too much RF and noise, so you have to kind of pull back a ways from it. But it's one of those that we catch on our way home a lot of times from Huntsville, Alabama Hamfest. But we were fortunate this year to be there at the same time as this.
Whoa.
Oh.
Nice.
That was last year, and that was our view. We
Wow,
had
that's cool.
a great solar eclipse right there, and nobody else was around us. We were there by ourselves.
Huh.
And when the next solar eclipse comes over, which is 2024, I think April 2024, it will be able to be seen in that same place. So we're going to be down there.
Doing it
So
again,
that's
huh?
that one.
Yeah. Hey, do you know K0AVN?
Yeah, I do. That's my buddy.
Okay, well he's been making a lot of comments about, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. He looks pretty familiar with all these things. He's like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, I drug him into SOTA, and he's been going crazy with it. He's a good activator. He's a natural.
Cool.
And there's another one that some of you may have done already. It's Sandia Crest. That's overlooking Albuquerque down here, and it's a beautiful summit. There's two ways to get to that one. You can drive up to it, or you can take a tram that's down along here, which is one of the longest trams in the United States, and hike over to this point, which is about a mile and a half. Either way you go, it's a nice summit, and we enjoy doing that when we're down in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. This is where you used to be able to operate there from. It's the Kiwanis cabin, but that now has been deemed as not in the zone. So you have to operate further back to the north to be in the zone now. But that's a neat place to visit when you go up there. So you can hike down to that too while you're there and just check it out. Here's another one, Capulan Mountain. This is a volcano, a dead volcano. But you can kind of see the road right here that you drive up on.
Oh, yeah.
And then you park up there a ways and climb on up around the rim. And it's a nice paved trail all the way around the rim. So that's a good one to do if you ever get out there. It's up in northeast New Mexico, and it's activated quite often. Here's one of our very favorites. This is Monte Sano State Park in Alabama. It's near Huntsville, just right on the edge of Huntsville. These cabins we rent every year when we go down to the Huntsville, Alabama Hamfest, which is a great hamfest, by the way. It's a 2-day event. But these cabins are at the top of the mountain and are in the activation zone. So we operate right there from our screened-in porch.
Oh my gosh, how could you get any
That's-
better than that?
That's great.
It's awesome.
That's
And
amazing.
what's even better is there's quite a few SOTA people that attend the Hamfest, and we have a gathering there on Saturday nights.
Where's this again?
And
I got it.
some
I'm
of us-
take
Some
notes
of
here.
us operate SOTA, and some of us just sit around and talk and whatever. I mean, we have people like Karen, W4KRN, and Liz and Ron. You probably work Liz and Ron, or they
Yep.
work
Yep.
too.
Yep.
K1LIZ and KI4TN.
There's-
They show up there.
Those are a couple other people I want to get on this show. Karen and Liz,
Yes,
yeah.
you should.
Yeah.
So we have a great time there, and there's a lot of trees to set up your antennas in and so forth. And it's very nice to just sit out there in the morning drinking your coffee and watch the sun come up. So it's a great location. These cabins were built by the Civilian Conservation Corps back in the 1930s, and there's like 13 or 14 of them that you can rent. There's also campgrounds for RVs and tents there too.
That looks like my favorite camping spot right there now.
Everybody,
Yeah, no
if you ever
kidding.
go to that Hamfest, try to get you one of those cabins. You'll love it.
So Gary,
Oh, wow.
AE9Q says you were his first SOTA QSO on his first activation.
Yes, I remember Dave. You bet. He's a nice guy. He used to live in Alabama, and the rascal moved out there to Arizona now.
Yeah,
He's down
he's
in
ours
Tucson.
Yeah, you got him. You can have him.
now. We'll keep him.
Here's Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Now, this is a high point out in the middle of nowhere, literally. I mean, this is the highest point for sure. It's a drive-up summit. The first time we activated this summit here, there was a guy up there helping direct traffic. Turns out he was a ham radio operator. But it's got nice paved trails up there on top of the summit, and you can walk around and pick a point to set up, and that's your view. And it's a nice view. Another place is one of our favorites is Mount Belmont in Montana. And this is, I've got a better picture of this later, but this is an antenna that we came up with called the skillet antenna. What it amounts to is the Hustler mobile antenna with the various loading coils mounted on an aluminum skillet as a base plate. And it works really well. It's easy to set up and easy to transport, because if you know how, and you've got one of the breakover type masts, there's a pin in the middle of that mast you can take out, so it'll come apart into two pieces that they're about 24 inches long, so it'll pack into your backpack real easy. And the skillet's aluminum, so it's fairly light, and if it wants to blow over, just set a rock on it. But it works really well. You just use 16 12-foot counterpoise wires as your counterpoise, and you're ready to go. Here's another look at it. This is up in Montana on a place called Strawberry Butte, and a little bit better picture of it. I don't have a good close picture of it, but it does work when you don't have a good location for a dipole or something, and it sets up really fast. And this is another picture of Strawberry Butte and the tower that's there. But one of the neat things up there is here's a cabin that the ranger stays in. You can rent that, and you can stay in that if you'd like. And I think the senior citizens rate is like $25 a night or something. It's really inexpensive. So if you're into that kind of thing, just rent those things and stay in them.
But you have to bring
I wish
all of your water and food and everything with you.
I wish the National Forests here would do that. We have a lot of unused mountaintop towers, and there's cabins and stuff, but they don't open it up. I know they do it in other forests, but there's none like that here in Arizona. That's
Yeah, that's too bad. Here was our setup there on Strawberry Butte. This particular one, we were using our 857D, and we used a bigger keyboard to send CW. But that's how we operate sometimes too, when we want to run a little bit more power.
So you guys are both listening to the stations coming in, and then you just kind of both take your turn working each one, huh?
Right.
Yep.
That's right. All we have to do is key whichever headset we've got on, and either one of us can talk. Here's another one that's up in Montana that's called Granite Butte, and you can rent this one also to stay overnight in. And it's right on the Continental Divide. Ron AE7AP from Helena has stayed in this one overnight. I got a cat here that's jumped up on the table. Got to get rid of. But AE7AP, Rob up in Helena, Montana, has stayed in this one with his wife. And it's really pretty neat.
What's his name?
And one of these days we're going to do that. We're going to rent one of those things to stay overnight in. But this one here, I would wonder, you know, if you were in a storm, you're the highest point there, buddy. If there's any lightning around you, I'm not sure I'd want to stay in there.
No.
Now, this is the OzarkCon I was talking about. This is an event that is put on by the four-state QRP group the first weekend of April every year, except this last year because of COVID. But one of the events that they hold there is a building session. They build a project that one of our members comes up with. And this is one of the rooms where the building is going on. There's another room back over there. There's two rooms. Martha and I usually run this session, and we'll have up to 50 builders at one time building this project. And it's really a fun event. We've built radios and keyers and you name it. Dave Kripe up in Nebraska is the guy that comes up with a project every year. And he's an engineer for it used to be, I think it's Rockwell up there. Anyway, he's a really sharp guy, and he comes up with some really neat projects, and they turn them into kits, and you can buy these kits. The four-state QRP group has a website that you can go buy all the kits from and build them, and they're pretty nice kits. Anybody recognize this guy here?
No.
That's Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB. He's the one that writes the kit section.
Oh, okay.
Kit section in CQ magazine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, Gary, I know you're quite the prolific builder, aren't you? In addition to the SOTA stuff on the side, right?
I am. This was our granddaughter, by the way.
Ooh.
She was building that year, the project. And Joe, who also takes a lot of pictures for CQ, took a picture of her and put it in CQ magazine, and it went worldwide. So it's kind of neat to see that. Here's one of the projects from the four-state QRP group. This is a radio called the Bayou Jumper. And it started out from a ham in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who came up with it. What he was trying to do was make a modern day version of the Paraset radio that was used in World War II by the resistance fighters. And Dave Kripe modified it a little bit, and they turned it into a nice kit. And they sold hundreds of these things. And then they finished the run, and there was so many comments about wanting another run that they've just started it up again, and now they're available again. It's got a blue face on the new ones. So if you want a nice kit to play with, it's really neat. It's a 5-watt transmitter, regen receiver. That is a built-in key, built-in Morse code key. And you mentioned that I like to build. Well, this is one of the things I built, but I decided after building a couple of these, I thought I'd like to try to duplicate one of the Paraset radios from World War II vintage. So I built this.
Wow.
Wait, that's
cool.
That's really impressive.
That's the 5-watt, which actually does about 8 watts. And it is a regen receiver, runs on 3 tubes, a couple of 6 SK7s and a 6V6 for the amplifier and oscillator. And it was a really fun project. Took a little bit of time, but it was well worth it in the end. And it's a neat thing to build.
So did you have a difficult time sourcing some of the parts, like the dial and things like that?
Yeah, that was a big part of that. I'm a big Hamfest shopper, so I look around for these kinds of things under the tables and boxes and things. And so I had a lot of these parts, but this was a specially made one from a ham over in St. Louis.
Wow.
That I just happened to run into, and he said, yeah, I got one of those. So I got lucky there.
Jeff?
That's what I like to do, and that's what we both do. Martha and I do a lot of building and attend a lot of ham fests and so forth, and as much SOTA activating as we can get in. So that's pretty much us. And
okay.
That's all I'll go for now on the presentation. Okay.
Cool. Well, I wanted to hop right in here right away. I have a couple questions, and then I'll turn it over to the other guys. And I have a kind of a list of running questions that I've got here that we need to ask you too from people that popped them in the chat. But real quick, Jeffrey Cable says that QRP guys used to sell the Paraset too. So the Paraset, he says. So that's cool. But let me ask first of all what the name of your cat is.
This one's Tiger Lily.
Okay.
Call it
AA668.
Pest.
Tiger Lily. All right. Good. You got more than one, it sounds like.
We have to.
Okay. You
The
sound
other one's
that
called Buddy.
you sound that so enthusiastically, Gary. We have to.
But Buddy likes to try to send CW with my key.
Okay. Well, I was joking with you guys earlier in the pre-show before we got going that everybody showed up here to talk to Martha, not you, Gary. So
Yeah, I've been doing all the talking. I'll let her do that from here on. It's hers.
well, so I have a question for Martha. I'm sure there's a lot of questions for her, but my question that I get to ask her is, I just wanted to find out how you got involved in ham radio, just real quick.
Well, I've actually been involved in ham radio longer than Gary,
Oh wow! All right.
A couple of years.
a couple of years longer. But, and I didn't know Gary then, but my brother was an amateur radio operator, my younger brother. And I watched him do it and actually helped him with his tests back in the late 50s. And I always wanted to do it myself, but my parents said no. A girl wasn't supposed to get involved in that. So I waited until I had quit teaching school and was waiting to have my last child. And I decided after she was born, I decided it was my turn, and I got my license. So as of this year, I will have had my license for 50 years. But it was just purely being around other amateurs.
That's great. That's a great
Nice.
story.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, Dan and Brian, go ahead.
Dan, you go ahead and take it.
I had, I guess, two questions primarily, and you guys are also number one in my logbooks as well, and always enjoy hearing from you guys on the summit. But I was looking at your QRZ page, and I was kind of curious about two things that you mentioned down there. Obviously, is ballooning, and I'm kind of curious if have you ever operated from a balloon, and then also astronomy. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys use for astronomy as well.
Well, to answer your question, we were in hot air ballooning from 1999 till about 2 years ago, and we finally gave that up. It was just getting to be too difficult because we're getting older, and those balloons are not lighter than air until you get them all set up and full of hot air. So until then, they're basically a 900-pound dead weight.
Yeah.
So we kind of finally gave that up and haven't done that. We still occasionally will go down to Albuquerque and visit our friends that are flying yet, but we just don't do the ballooning now. We had a great time. We did a lot of trips all over the Southwest out there doing that. And
Yeah, we have a lot of ballooning out here in Arizona as well, and
yes,
I've gotten to do that twice, and also did regular jump out of a plane once, and it's the most amazing. Both of those are the most amazing things in the world, especially ballooning. It's so amazingly quiet, and the views are just spectacular.
Let me
it
hop in.
is.
Let me jump in here real
And
quick.
I have done one contact on a VHF from a balloon to some hams down there in the Albuquerque area. But other than that, no, we typically don't operate. You're too busy doing the flying to really play around with radios too much.
Okay.
As far as the astronomy thing, we've got several different telescopes that we do work with occasionally. We haven't been doing that one either lately. We've just been doing so much traveling, and the weather hasn't been that great here lately, so we haven't been doing a lot with astronomy either.
Comment for
But it's a fun hobby.
comment for Martha. Amy AG7GP, who's another person I want to get on this show at some point. You know her. Everybody knows her. She says that your story was very inspiring, Martha. So good for you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dan. Anything else?
No, that's it for now.
Hey, Brian.
Gary, so you do a lot of building. How much have you like designed on your own, and do you do like any restoring? Do you get into finding the gems at the Ham Fest that don't work anymore and get them fired back up again? Because that's something I'd like to inspire to be able to do someday, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, I do a lot of scratch building. I like to build antennas. I've built hundreds of different antenna designs. For restoration, yes, I do enjoy doing that. I've restored a number of the old Zenith transoceanic radios, if you're familiar with those. They're great to find at Hamfest and rebuild and get them working again. There's just something about those radios that's so unique. And I do like to do repair of radio stuff in general. I've been in electronics all my life, pretty much, and a lot of it has been in the repair areas. When I was in the military, I used to work on avionics radios and things like that. So yeah, I've been building and repairing stuff for a long time.
We have a number of helicopters and
One of my favorites.
I can't remember, several different things like that. That when we got them didn't work by the time he finished with them. Why, they do work. They're sitting around here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, they're helicopters, S22R and SX28, if you're familiar with that. 1940 vintage. Good stuff. Fun to repair.
Jeff AA6XA wants to know if you design your own. Have you designed your own transceivers?
Not exactly. I built some from scratch, but they've mostly been articles out of magazines or something I picked up somewhere that I wanted to try to build. But I have not designed the one per se from the ground up.
Okay. You have another question, Brian?
Yeah. So, Martha and Gary, what's your guys' favorite operating mode? If you, as far as the HF is concerned, what do you guys prefer the most?
Probably CW. We do probably 75 or 80% of our contacts are made with CW, and we don't just chase from home.
Yeah.
On a lot of our trips, we chase from the car. And the way we do that is we've got an 857D in the car, and the driver drives, the passenger does the radio most of the time. And on the 857D, you've got an A, B, and a C key. And the A key is programmed with my call, the B with her call, and a C is the 559 call. So if you hear that, and it sounds like the same response, we're mobile.
Every now and then, and I don't know if it's because you guys are not together, but sometimes I'll expect to hear the second call and I never hear it. And every now and then I'll send, and I just automatically go from one to the other. Whoever was first, I grab the second one. I just automatically send the second report. And sometimes I don't get a response, and I'm like, all right, maybe they're not together right now. I should probably.
You'd be surprised the number of times somebody will work me and turn right around and send her call too.
Yeah.
And expect a response. It happens a lot.
I'm sure it does. In fact, Chris, N1CLC, he says that he was talking to a new CW ham radio operator about SOTA pileups, which can be really hard for beginners. And he says that he told them that if all else fails on 20 meters, all you need to do is send W0, and Gary or Martha will probably be there. And he said he actually did that today. He had a pile up and he couldn't make out anybody, so he just sent W0 and you showed up.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember him doing that.
I'll have to remember that trick.
Yeah. And then, you got another one, Brian?
No, I was just like I'd said earlier about the Hawaii contact. It was very typical you guys. Like, only heard a few people. I got two people in Arizona. I got Ray and I got Tommy, USA and RV. Right. And then I think shortly after that, you guys chimed in, and it was it was almost like a guarantee. In fact, the radio was probably broken if I didn't work you guys. And you were the farthest contact that I made from Hawaii at that time too, by distance. You were the DX that particular day.
Yeah, and the band conditions were not that great that day.
No, they were not. Like I said, I worked real hard to get those 7 contacts up on top of the mountain. Really hard. In fact, my wife actually joined me on that summit, and it had rained and rained and rained the day before, and the mud in Hawaii is like ice. So
Yeah.
getting up some of the switchbacks in a few places, the two of us I mean, we were covered in it. It was a heck of, it was a short hike. It's not very long. Charlie's done this hill too, but because of all the mud and the rain, it was a lot of work getting up on top of the thing.
I can imagine so.
All right, so Mark KG6LI, I guess he's the comedian of the group. He has another question. It was a comment first, and now there's a question. He says, "Why is Martha's CW so much better than Gary's?"
Now, wait a minute. We're sending CW from the same keyboard, and it's a program key.
All
One of
right.
the reasons probably is my cat's trying to send CW for me.
I got the same problem too, actually. I got two of them that love chewing on the ends of the paddle.
Yeah.
All right, now maybe a little bit more serious questions. So Don, I know him well. He's with his YouTube channel he just started is called Smoke Signal RF. He says, "What power source do you guys use for your activities? Like what batteries and stuff?"
Oh, we started out using the buddy pole batteries for portable operation, and then we've moved on to a little bit better battery, in my opinion. The Buenos, I think we pronounce it. They seem to
Bio-Eno,
be
yeah.
a more stable battery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we use now for all of our portable operating.
Another
Yeah, I
endorsement
like
for
those as well.
Bio-Eno, yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, Bio-Eno, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, I pack them in plastic boxes. You probably saw that one picture there of an orange box. That had the battery in it. You can buy those boxes at Walmart,
Okay.
and they really will protect those batteries very well.
Yeah. I just ordered my first Bio-Eno battery 2 days ago. Got their Christmas discount, so we'll see what happens. I've had a Zippy battery, those Zippy 4000, almost 6 years now. Those things are supposed to only last 3, and I've had it for almost 6. And I figure rather than go out with a bang, I'd rather just kind of make the smart transition now. Because I just have the thing blow up in my pack.
I agree with you.
We've used the Zippy batteries as well, and they work fine.
Yeah, they're great. All right, let's see. N1CLC Chris has another question. He says, "What drives you guys to chase, and what do you enjoy most?"
It's just the challenge. I love to work as many people as I can. And just like today, we worked a guy down in Costa Rica. That's another new one that we haven't worked before. So it's the challenge of working these guys. And at the same time, our philosophy is a little bit like, if you guys are activators and you're going to go out there and go to the trouble of going up on a summit, especially in the winter months like this, then I'm going to try to work you to make sure you get your activation points that you need and the number of contacts. Because it's easy for us to sit here in a shack drinking a cup of coffee while you're out there struggling in the cold weather. So yeah, we're going to make sure you can get your contacts.
Cool. All right. So another question for you is, where are you as far as we know where you're at as far as points roughly for chasing. You're way up there, 110 or something like that, 1,000. I don't even know if you check anymore, but you're way there. But when it comes to the mountain goat, like you said, the closest peak is 4 hours away. So where are you guys at with your mountain goat as far as points go? And are you about the same, or are you further apart from each other?
We're 6 points different. She's 6 points shy of what my score is, and we're getting pretty close to 700 points now. So we've got another year or two, if we can work it right, where we hope to get the mountain goat award. But like I said earlier, we're just not near any summits, so we have to travel somewhere to get any kind of a summit. And we plan all of our trips to where we can go by different summits as much as possible and try to work them.
Yeah.
And as far as our chaser score, she's at a little over 145,000. I think I passed 164,000 today.
Okay.
So that's
You guys should take and publish a trip itinerary where when you go out next time, which mountains on which days. Man, I can imagine that would just be chaos for
Yeah,
you.
absolute pandemonium for you guys. You'd probably need to computer log. Forget about paper because you're gonna have they would be a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the people wanting to.
It can be a challenge at times. I leave all of the high tech stuff like that to her.
Yeah.
She's the planner. I just drive.
We need to pay you guys back activations that you guys chased us on. I believe me, there's been so many of them.
Well, that's the funny thing in my house with when it comes to technology. I have all this great stuff in the shack, but when it comes to like the TV, the VCR, or anything out in the other end of the house, that's my wife. No, you better ask her. She knows. My father, I have a question about just ask Eve. I can't help you with that.
Yeah, you go do that.
Let me.
Well, one thing that I guess I should mention is how I got into SOTA.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because I didn't do it right off the bat.
It wasn't a package deal.
No.
It was something that ever so often Gary would call me downstairs. He says, this guy needs one more contact. Give him a contact. So I would come on. I'd call the person and give him the contact and then walk off. And then one day when we were coming back from OzarkCon in down there in Branson, he had me give somebody a contact or something. I've forgotten what it was, but at any rate, I decided then that I thought, well, dadgummit, if I'm doing all this, maybe I'd better start writing these down. So that's when I actually registered and went ahead and got started. And that was a year or two after he did. So that's why my score is a lot less. Plus the fact that I'm the one that does the cooking and stuff like that.
You have more work.
Sitting by the radio all the time.
She cooks very well.
Got to get you a remote hookup out in another part of the house. That way you just sort of carry it around with you. Get an iPad or something.
Well, I'll tell you how it works. She's up here cooking and she's got a handheld radio and I've got one downstairs. When I need to call her downstairs, I say, W0MNA on, come on down. Saves a lot of trips up and down those stairs.
That's great.
Let me mention here, there's quite a few things. I asked if there were any other questions or comments in the chat, and there was several that rolled in here. Let me skip over a couple here. I wanted to mention Bob Friedel. I know him by Robert. His N3BZ.
Yes.
Yeah, you know him. He started pursuing his mountain goat just a little over a year ago, and he achieved it in just over a year, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, please tell both from N3BZ thanks for all the contacts. And so I'm sure he appreciates that. But he's going to be on in 2 weeks, so we're going to congratulate him for getting his goat. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
Cool. And then let me scroll back up here. So you're the guy that you got involved. I can't remember his call sign. I mentioned him earlier. He says, "What are your current winter projects?"
Right. Well, right now I'm waiting for the little QCX Mini to arrive. I ordered one of the QCX Mini transceivers, the 20-meter version, and the 50-watt amplifier. So that's going to be the next winter project. And we're also working on some hotspots because we're into fusion repeaters and things like that on the side too.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got a net right after I get done here for 7 o'clock or so for a fusion net, locally. But that's my next project will be the little QCX transceiver. And I've built several of the others similar to it already. But those are good winter projects.
Cool. All
And
right.
I've got several of them scattered around downstairs. I got to look and see what they are and figure out which one I'm going to build.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I have anymore.
Apparently, it's not to become a better piano or organist player. You're already good at that.
No, she's already that. And here comes our second cat. This is Buddy.
All right.
Hi, buddy.
Buddy's the one that wants to send CW, right?
He's the one that wants to send CW. That's right.
Let's see. There's another question here from I think it was from Don from Smoke RF. Let me see. Let me see if I can find it now again. I think it had to do with antennas.
Yeah, he was asking about what types of antennas, wire, do you use any wire antennas and what types? If I
Yeah,
recall
we
correctly.
like to work with the in-fed half-wave type designs. And we are we're in the process of trying to design a couple of them right now, but we also have been working with some of them that others have designed and testing those. And they're a fun antenna to build. They're fairly easy to build, and I enjoy making the little traps and things like that for those kind of antennas. So I just really enjoy antennas. In fact, this hobby is just, especially the SOTA aspect of it, really gets you into building the antennas. You try to come up with the best thing you can come up with that will do the job for you and yet not weigh a whole lot and is easy to set up. So it's a natural for a person to get into antenna building in this part of the hobby.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time. Believe it or not, it's almost an hour here. I needed to, let me see, the tech prepper, he was on an activation with me on Saturday. He said actually it was Gary that I had the QSO with yesterday on Blackjack. So
That's right.
and he's really new to ham radio and really new to SOTA, but he's doing a great job and he has a really nice YouTube channel. Let's see. So Scott KW4JM,
Yes.
he got his triple goat since we last met. And Tom, W1PTS, also got triple goat. So congratulations to them.
Yeah.
And let me just go through a couple more little things here. I already talked about N3BZ coming on in a couple of weeks. Excuse me. Right after this live stream, so we have a YouTube group, a group of guys that get together and we try to provide YouTube content or ham radio content on YouTube, a whole group of us. And we'd have a thing called Monday Night Ham Radio where we all get together and do a theme night sometimes. This coming Monday, the theme night is Will It Antenna. And so there's, I think, 10, 15 videos back to back all about just taking random things and seeing if you can tune it up and make it work on the radio. So that's fun. And then right after this stream, here in just a few minutes, we have Ham Radio 2.0, who's going to be talking about the goals for his channel for the coming year. And then the last thing is just before we had this live stream, we had a recording with a guy from Winter Field Day, and so we'll be releasing that video all about Winter Field Day to let people know about that. So you can expect that to come out soon. So just wanted to cover those things before we left on. Is there anything else from any of you guys? Dan, do you have anything else?
Just that I want to thank Gary Martha for coming on today, and it's really nice to have you on. And like I said, I have a lot of contacts with you guys, and I really appreciate all the chasing because you saved my bacon on a couple of hills over the years. So really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, same here. I'm sorry. I was really excited to have you guys on and actually get to talk to you face to face. You know, between the CW contacts and then obviously, you know, we also are friends on social media, so we get to kind of see a little bit about what's going on in each other's lives. So it was good to actually see you guys and talk to you guys and put a voice and a face together.
I understand that. And you all need to go to Dayton sometime because we have a gathering of SOTA people at Dayton.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I went in 2013, and I tell everybody that if you have never been, you need to go at least once. It is absolutely incredible, and it is every ham radio stereotype you can possibly think of is walking around the Dayton Ham Convention. It is.
That's for sure.
It is. I mean, everything. It is quite the event. If you've never been, and for people that didn't get to experience the horror arena, I feel bad for them because it was fun. It was a really, really good time. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, we have too. We go every year.
Well, yeah, I was planning on going with the YouTube group this year, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But maybe next year we'll go and we'll find you, Gary and Martha. I think I can speak for everybody when I say how much I appreciate you always being on the air and being there. It makes so much difference. Like Dan said, there's been times where you've been one of only 4 or 5 contacts that I've been able to make. Your consistency is legendary. It really is. Everybody I talk to, whether on the air or in this in person in the ham radio community, knows Gary and Martha and has fond memories of contacts with you. So it's such an honor to have you on. I really appreciate both of you being here and sharing your time with us.
Well, thanks for having us. We've had a good time too, and it's always fun to hear the comments and so forth from your viewers. And we look forward to this for several weeks after you told us you were going to have us on. So thanks for doing that. We've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll see you all in 2 weeks. And thanks everybody for in the chat room for your comments and for joining us. And thanks to my co-hosts and again especially Gary and Martha. We'll see you everybody.
Thanks.
73.
Bye, everybody.
7-3. Good night.